Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Weather from the Summer School Discord, and this game I'm going to be walking through another replay review following the Zed. So, like always, I like starting by going over win conditions. So this game's no exception. I'm going to go over win conditions. There aren't really that bad of comps in solo queue. There are definitely dominant comps, but you still have opportunities to win with whatever you have to work with. Um, it's just you need to know what you need to be playing to. And assuming even if you have a perfect comp, they could have one pick in there that makes it so that way you want to play in a different way. So looking at your team comp, you've got a lot of scaling between the Nasus, the Jax, and the Twitch, even a Lulu to support all of this, but you are full AD. So that's going to have a little bit of fall off as well. You're going to scale pretty well, but you're also going to fall off a little bit because they only need armor, which gives them basically an extra item slot to do whatever they want with. Um, One benefit here, though, is they don't really have any tanks, so no one's going to build full armor, and you're not going to need like 8 penetration items. It's just that they're going to have one extra item, basically, to ensure they get some resistances in there and nothing wasted, right? So, looking at your comp, your Nasus versus Gangplank is probably going to be a pretty slow lane phase, and then later on in the game, it's going to be kind of a mixed bag of what it can do. Because the Gangplank can both wave clear, he has an okay amount of team fight, but he also has an okay amount of disengage with his barrels slow. So it's got to be pretty hard for the Nasus to actually get on him and kill him. In a split push lane, it's probably going to take some other influence in order to get a turret at any point with that kind of a lane. Looking at the jungle matchup, it favors the Jax a little bit early, and then depending upon which form the Kayn goes, it could go into favor of Kayn, or it could stay favoring Jax. I think that Jax beat Shadow Kayn, but I think that Red Kayn would do, rather, Shadow Kayn would do well against like a Zed and a Twitch, so I don't know which form he's going to go. Malzahar provides them a lot of crowd control, but you have so many targets that they want to lock down, and this is their only true lockdown, that he's going to have to be really choosy with who he decides to ult. Because he can ult the Zed, he can ult the Jax, or he can ult the Twitch, but he only can ult one of them. Tristana and Janna provides the same amount of teamfight potential basically that the Twitch does, except for Twitch has certain areas or certain windows he can enter a fight and certain he can't, because he uses his escape, his stealth, to enter the fight normally, and then he's a sitting duck. So okay, looking at like what you want to do with this comp, right? So with this kind of comp, you're going to probably have an okay amount of team fight. But if you look for a team fight, it's a mixed bag. You both have very good carries and very good peel. They have enough crowd control to deal with one of your dives and enough peel to deal with the other one. So you're probably not going to, as Zed, be able to dive the Tristana effectively. And that's the only target you really can get to late game. So you're going to have to be playing around trying to match the Zed, or rather match the Gangplank, I think. Zed into a Gangplank lane would give you some kill potential. He's probably not going to build full resistances, but you also might have to be looking for rotations outside of this. So as Zed, I'd be trying to look toward an opportunity to split into the Gangplank. Your team fight, as I said, with the Nasus and the Jax, that would have good impact to get a turret in the top lane, but a Kayn and a Gangplank could do the same thing into your Nasus. I really don't know how your bot lanes are going to either one of these could get fed, which could drastically change how you play this game. But as Zed, I'd be looking to go into the top lane more, just because they have so much disengage down bottom, and you're going to have good kill potential on the Gangplank for a good amount of time this game. And if you help the Nasus even with a little bit of vision control by controlling this side of your lane, you're going to be able to help him out and help this whole matchup out. Okay, so we're going to get into the game. So this is a really good habit to get out here early and be providing some vision line control. I actually really like this. It's one of those advantages that you don't have to give the enemy. Where exactly you're standing is a little bit weird, but you have the right idea by being up here. If you want to think about like any game that you surrender at 15 minutes, right? If they get off an early invade and they get a kill from it, then that early gold has more of an impact than a kill later. And those summoner spells has more impact because this game naturally snowballs, right? So every game that you surrender at 15 minutes, probably 1/10 of those games or more are caused by something that happens level 1. And these plays, like providing vision line and stuff like that, your team doing this is trying to make one of these 15-minute surrender type plays, but it's just games you don't have to lose. You don't need to sit in the middle of the lane either. There's no real reason for you to be looking for push priority here because you're not going to be able to get it. Or you rather shouldn't get it. I'm really watching this part of the laning phase, this level 1, kind of more than I'm going to the rest of the game, because this sets up a lot of like who's going to get level 2 first. It sets up wave aggression. It sets up what kind of pressure you're going to have to make your second play. Like right now, if you were playing in aggressive level 1, right, you have this ward over here that showed you that the Kayn just went to his red buff. And if you had pushed in really hard level 1 with someone like, I don't fucking know, Xerath, right? You and Jax could have chosen to make an invade happen here. And the Malzahar, if he chose to respond to this, he would have lost half of the wave that you just pushed into his turret. This is an example of something that you could do level 1, and this choice, this level 1 wave manipulation, level 1 aggression and stuff, it has impacts because it shows you what opportunities and what things you can do. Like this is happening over here and he's half-life. Imagine if you could have gone over to this. Now, I don't blame you for not being able to go over to this because you would probably assume that he started red and you probably would have assumed that he walked up normally and stuff like that, right? So nothing is out of the ordinary here, but this is a missed opportunity, and level 1 is when this opportunity starts and ends. Because you can't do anything here realistically anymore. You could try, but you would lose more than you would gain most likely, because he'd just walk over this wall by the time you get here, and you're out-leveled in lane, and you lost some CS, and you would just lose out on so much. But if it's a plan that you have from the get-go, then it could work out. I also said that you shouldn't be able to get push priority here, but you've somehow gotten it. So now you do need to be deciding what you're going to do with it. You're not really trying to keep his shield popped, so you don't really have any all-in potential at level 2. That's not a huge problem, especially with where he's positioning and where the wave is. It's just the way you're managing this wave. Okay, this ward is a pretty bad ward. If you were tracking the Kayn, then you would know that he's level 2, right? If he went from Raptors to this, he's level 2. So if he's level 2, he's not going to be looking for the gank just yet. His only opportunities after this is to go to Krugs to try and get level 3, or do what most junglers would do, is go and finish their clear towards topside and get blue buff. Which means that you're not tracking the enemy jungler. Tracking the enemy jungler, you have the knowledge from this vision ward, so you knew where he was, but you're not predicting where he's going, because this is a wasted resource, and this should not see him. If he level 2 ganks you, you're going to be able to get out. You're definitely going to be able to get out. Just your shadow and swap back, or just walking away. You don't have to be too worried about this ward. This is an issue with tracking the enemy jungler, and that is a huge problem because that can throw your lead mid lane, because the way that you manage this wave, the way that you're pushing in, probably would allow you to get ganked a lot. So you might have problems with this in a lot of your solo queue games. You need to track the enemy jungler. And this ward's not going to do anything for you. So now you know the Malzahar's out of mana. He hasn't really been playing this lane very well, and you have a whole lot of kill potential right now. I would just be looking for this Malzahar, and yeah, instead of going top. So exactly what you did. You do know that you have potential to 1v1 the Kane still because you didn't really use anything on that. You used Ignite, but that's it. Okay, so you need to recall here because you have a window to do so, and if you do not recall here, you're not actually extending your lead. You have 30 CS and a kill. That should be enough to get your first lethality item. This window right here is when you recall, because when Malzahar comes back to lane and levels up once, you are now actually effectively behind in this lane because he has the same level as you, he has a summoner spell on you, and he has items on you. And by staying here, you waste this opportunity to recall. Just like how I was talking about level 1, how it shows what kind of chances and what opportunities, what missed opportunities there are. This is a missed opportunity to recall, and this is how you can press your lead. You did exactly what you wanted to do in pushing this into turret, and you should not be able to kill the Kane here, because in like, I don't know, 20 seconds, Malzahar is going to be back in lane. So he's only going to be here for this wave, push it out, and then it's going to crash here, and you're going to try and push another wave. Malzahar is going to be back, the Malzahar is going to get his XP, and he's going to be pushing it into here, and you missed your cannon wave, and no CS loss recall. I really don't like this play that you do over here. You don't have Ignite right now. You're not 6. You know the Malzahar was going to be there, and all you did was waste time where you could have shoved in this wave, and he still ended up getting that camp. So it's not like you denied anything. You made him recall, but he was going to recall after that anyways. I guarantee it. And if the Malzahar was a little bit faster, like if he had started Shoes his next item, he could have been there in time to trade a lot of damage onto you, which would have made you recall at a bad time. You're also not putting any focus into roaming. Right now, you don't have an opportunity to roam bottom, and you don't really have an opportunity to roam top. But if you're predicting what's going to happen to this lane, so it's going to push out. This lane is going to push out because the Nasus is leaving. So that means that Gangplank is going to be up about here if he wants to push it all the way to turret, and he's going to have to be vulnerable. If you look for 6 here, which you are 6, you push this in hard and you run top, that's a kill. That's an opportunity to roam, and okay, going for the Malzahar if he gives it to you is fine too. He has some really disrespectful positioning. He walks right into your shadow. Taking advantage of it though is totally fine. See what I was saying though? This is where the Gangplank is. You could have been walking up to this, and it's just another window that you could have gotten a kill. See, he's even still here. This not only is a kill, but it's also an assist for your team, and it's turret damage, and it's free Nasus farm time. This is a lot of different things, and this is where I said I would like you to be playing towards your win condition. Because if you do put this lane ahead, right, then he's probably going to be able to at least smack the turret a little bit because Gangplank's not going to be able to clear it all the time, and then it's going to give you some pressure up here, and it's going to allow you to lane swap Nasus somewhere else effectively where you can play into the Gangplank, where you have a lead. Also, now this is a very good roam. You can dive bottom. Okay, so here's a great example also. You just created a window to do something. This right here, where you just clear the wave and you disappear from vision, look at this. You're not in vision. This is when you start your roams. And if you look at the next wave, it's a cannon wave, which is going to take it a longer time to push in. So here's where you can choose to go in either direction. You can go bottom for this dive on the Janna, or you could go top for this Gangplank, right? Who is being very greedy right here. You don't have ult for a while, so you don't have kill potential by yourself right now, and you don't even have Ignite, but you can set up for another lane. This right here, this Janna, is, a Q in auto. This Gangplank is a QE in auto. And then you flash with another auto, maybe. But if you stay in lane like this, you're just playing purely for lane, which means your team, if you ever complain about your team falling behind, right, then you're okay, so you are roaming. You do take, oh, no, you're not. Yeah, you roam too late here. Not that late. Okay, okay. Well, this was a very good opportunity to roam, and this is a good ward. Now to go over why this is a good ward is because if you're tracking the enemy jungler, one of the best ways to track where they're going to be later on in the game is whenever their buffs are spawning. Whenever their buff spawns, it's very likely that the enemy is going to be there, which means there's a window slightly before it spawns and slightly after it spawns that they're going to be looking to gank something nearby, just because that's the window that they're on that side of the map, right? And if you're low, if you're pushing, if you're whatever, that's when they gank. So this ward is actually a very well-timed ward. The earlier one, you weren't predicting his route because you were expecting a level 2 gank. This isn't the type of jungler that level 2 ganks. He will level 6 gank, though, probably. You change your mind here, and I'm not exactly sure why you change your mind. It's probably because you see your lane pushing in really hard. And that is the nature of kind of a Malzahar lane. It was going to push in. Your only other option would have been to continue that and let the Jax come mid to catch this. If you continued your roam, there was a solid chance that you would have just been pinged out. But what this gank was, this roam was expected to be a dive by you. So it doesn't really matter if they saw you coming, because you would have been able to just dive it anyways, or you would have forced them off the tower, which could have zoned them out of the wave that you lost up here. And Jax still ended up catching this wave. So this wasn't actually a missed opportunity, and it wasn't a missed roam, and you weren't really needed to come back. You could have just pinged assist me on mid, Jax would have walked mid, continued your roam, dived and got the Janna. Again, you also could have definitely gone top lane, and this is where, again, I said that I would have preferred you playing towards. Just because putting the Gangplank behind ensures your split push later, because this is what you want to split push against. But, yeah, coming back mid is okay. I would say it's suboptimal. And look what's happening down here now. If you had shown up for this, right? If you had shown up for that, don't you think that would have been a little different? Yeah. And if you're looking at pings and stuff, right? Because you're tracking, or rather, they're trying to track you. This is where their ward was. And remember how I said your roam was a little bit late? It wasn't even that your roam was late, but watch the vision here. Now, what if you walked like this? And down. There would have been no pings, and there's no way that Malzahar had an opportunity to ward this far back. So yeah, your roam pathing, your roam conviction, like you didn't stay to it, and your roam priority, like you could have gone top lane here. All three of those are kind of missed in this roam here. You had a perfect opportunity to do it, especially because the Jax could have just held your lane. He was right there ready to hold it at level 5. So what do you look for whenever you're doing for roams, right? Here's kind of the catch, right? Because you can always try and roam, but that doesn't mean you're going to get something. Well, the most obvious thing is, of course, health bars. If you think you can kill them, then it's got to be a good roam, right? Yeah. The second thing is what are you going to get from it, and what could you lose from it? So if you left here, right, you individually would have lost a minion wave. Jax would have picked that up, so you as a team would have lost nothing. His buff isn't even spawned yet, so he doesn't lose his buff. You would have lost nothing. What you could have gained here is you could have gained a kill, maybe another kill, and maybe even Infernal Dragon, because then after Jax clears out this wave and you kill 2 people, you come and do the dragon as a 4-man and they can't contest it. So you could have gotten a dragon, you could have gotten 2 kills, and you could have potentially even gotten a turret depending upon the wave and what Jax was doing, and you would have lost nothing. That is the window that you roam. Now the window of how you roam, right? If you push out a wave and they lose vision of you, that is the best time to roam. You're playing out of their knowledge of where you are, right? And if they can't even see which direction you go to because you go in when I originally mentioned it, then it top has to back off and bottom has to back off. And your pings, right? You have vision of this Malzahar. Where are your pings of Mia? Now there's your ping. Do you know when your ping came through? Watch down here. Your ping was when the Malzahar was already in Tribrush and they were already fighting. They were already fighting. So that it's not like your team could make the decision to avoid this anymore. Your Mias are late, your roam pathing is poor, your roam conviction is poor, your roam choice is poor, and your warding is in the middle right now because you have wasted one and you have done one correctly. This ward even caught the Malzahar, but you did not ping it, which means that even though you're warding, your map awareness is lacking. Your map tracking is also lacking because you put that the reason you put that first ward down was because you were expecting a gank. That's the only reason you would have been putting this down. And he wouldn't have ganked you. Simple as that. He would not have ganked you. So you had a window to put your bot lane ahead, and instead you put your bot lane behind. If you ever blame your team, right, this is where you impact that. Malzahar still had ult there, so your play is incredibly aggressive. Like, there was no reason to go back in on this. None at all. He could have ulted you. Between the ult, the ignite, and even Kane's ult, they could have killed you there. That was unnecessary aggression, just like this Raptor thing. You're not counting whenever you go in. You need to count 2 ways every time you're going to take a fight as an engaged champion or even an assassin. The first way you count is what are the maximum amount of people that can be there for your team, right? The maximum for you is 1, or rather the minimum. You want to count the minimum for your team because sometimes your team doesn't show up. Minimum for your team and the maximum for their team. You never want to engage whenever it's outnumbered. And the way you can always guarantee that you're not going to get outnumbered is by counting. It's like simple math, but the caveat is minimum for your team and maximum for their team. You also aren't paying attention to cooldowns here because they both still have their ults when they're coming to you, and he even has Ignite. The only cooldown that they blew are those 2. You so should have died there. Did you just QSS that? You already have a Q. Damn, dude. You got that early. That is really smart. That is really smart. You must be used to this matchup because that's like the only thing he has to do to you, right? Ult you. In which case, this wasn't dangerous. I didn't expect you to have QSS that soon. Never mind. Never mind. That wasn't dangerous because you had QSS. Your roam here is pretty late. You're backing in a dangerous spot. Dangerous spot. He could have ulted you and you would have died. Instead, you're just going to die to dragon. Oh, no? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you deserve to die there. Your roam was super late. That was already over. If you're watching what's happening bottom, you could have again been looking for something top, right? Or more realistically, again, I'm talking about back timers, right? This is a back timer. Do you see you're low, you're without ignite, you're without ult? You're not going to be of any help down there. And what if they have these wards that tracked you last time, right? Like this. That's why they found you. And again, this disrespectful positioning. And even if he didn't ult you, he could have just blast coned over. Yeah. That's the third time you've disrespected them. The second time is kind of iffy because you had QSS, but it would still have been a waste of QSS. Unless you planned on just trading QSS for ult, but there's no reason to do that. Because the reason you get QSS, right, is so they can't ult you. Then why do you give them the ult? It's still damage that you're taking for free. They already got off the roam, so you're not preventing the roam ult. Okay, good. You've started to catch on to that this was warded this whole time. Now, I don't think there was a very easy way for you to know that the Kayn was there. I don't think I would have predicted that. Yeah, I wouldn't have known that either. The only thing that I really have this... Oh, maybe. Maybe. Yeah, I think that there was a chance you could have known that. Because they just pinged the blast cone thing. You know, the scrying thing. Okay. So let's go into a little bit of a micro thing. Let's pretend that you didn't know he was over here at all. You didn't know this. Well, here's an interesting thing, a little nuanced thing about playing mid lane or bottom lane or whatever else. It's how you position in the lane itself. So, if you're positioned right here, you are favoring the bottom side, which you just did put down a pink ward, so maybe you're trying to defend this pink ward, right? Which I disagree with you trying to roam bottom so much this game. I think you should be focusing top, but this pink ward, right, isn't really protecting you from what the Kayn could do. Because the Kayn could come over here, and then that doesn't matter, because, right, that's not defending you. And he could come through here, 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 he could come through here. He has like 8 gank windows, places he can gank from. This is only one of 8. So this isn't there's no reason that you really should have just a pink ward here unless you're clearing out for a roam. This vision control is just for roaming. And there's no way you can secure this right now, because the only thing you would do with this pink ward is, 1, bait him to fight you, or roam with it. That's it. Those are the 2 things this ward does. Nothing else. 2 things. That's it. And the nuanced thing about this lane, right, is if you're trying to play safe, you don't always have to play to the side of the lane where, you know, you have vision, or where you're trying to position to the enemy. But if you play to the side of the lane where your team can help you, right? So if you would instead try to control this side of the lane, this is not only giving Jax an opportunity to gank for you, it's also giving you an area where you can then kite to the Jax, which Jax is more useful than a turret because Jax can chase. Jax has CC. And what your positioning is in this lane is favoring the bottom side, which is only to defend this ward. That's the only reason you could be positioned down here. And then whenever this gank comes in, watch how you kite, right? Watch how your path. Do you see the distance here? You didn't get any further away from that at all. And if you had been kiting up, none of this damage would have happened. And if none of that Kayn damage happened, you wouldn't have died here. Because you died even though you QSS'd, right? They weren't going to CC you. You just died purely to damage. Even though you QSS'd, they still do damage. How do you avoid damage? By kiting away. You were kiting the turret, and then you were kiting back in because you wanted to kill the Malzahar, which is your fifth greedy play this game. Outnumbered. Again, if you were kiting to the jacks, he could have done this. And, if he did this earlier, and you didn't have that damage from the cane, you would have lived. You could have grouped for turret. So your playstyle on Zed is very greedy, very lane heavy, and you don't pick very good times to roam and very good roam pathing. Very good roam priority. Your laning phase is fine, but like it also is like if you're planning on climbing, your laning opponents are going to get harder and harder. So you're going to need to be able to play the map. You can't just play the lane. And you finally getting top. Do you see how easy this would have been if you had ult? Such an easy kill, right? Do that again and again and again. This is all fine. Since you had the fruit, you didn't have to recall. You have to kind of be mid here. You keep taking these fights under turret. You're just looking for these aggressive plays all the time. I think that your combo is slow, and that's part of the reason. Because he steps up, and then you ult late. You already know that the ult damage stacks up, so maybe you were trying to make it so you got an extra E in beforehand or something, but if you had E'd after, instead, you probably would have had a little bit of extra damage on that pop, which would have helped. And it would have made it so you weren't under turret and wouldn't have had to have kited out immediately. This is an okay roam, but also a kind of slow roam. You go perfectly mid, and this is when you change your mind to what you're going to do, right? This is when you change your mind. You're already mid. This is already happening. But it's already happening way back here. It's already happening right here. Your team has made the decision that it's grouping for this turret, right? It's already happening. And you still path all the way mid before you look bottom. See all of this fight? See how long it is? You could have been here. You could have had this kill. You're not watching. Malzahar was watching the same way you were. You need to watch better than he did, so that way you're here first. You don't need to look for this. You're outnumbered over here. You're outnumbered. I would be going back mid right now. This is a waste of time. You know they're probably on Dragon, and you're not creating any pressure by standing here. They're not going to be pushing up if they're playing smart. You know they're on Dragon. Tristana shouldn't have been that far up. She should have just been waiting for them to do Dragon. I mean, again, if you get the opportunity to take the kill, it's fine to take advantage of it. But these are things that you shouldn't be counting on. The Tristana shouldn't have been here, which means you shouldn't have been here. Right? You knew what they were doing, and you were wasting this time. very easily could have died there too. You're really just playing this for lane, and I'm seeing that as a consistent problem. You just are looking for these 1v1 plays against your lane because you think you're super far ahead and you don't care whatever else is happening on the map. You think that since you have QSS, you can always go in and let's say you did kill the Malzahar in a 1v1 here, right? You kill him, you still have a shitload of damage on you, so then you have to leave after that. You can't auto the turret because Kayn would show up then. So assuming that this thing plays out, you get your kill, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters after you get a, like, from getting a kill, the only reason getting a kill matters is it allows for uncontested objectives. Whenever you ace them, what do you typically do? You might do Baron, or you might pick up an inhibitor, or maybe sometimes even in fucking lower elo, for some reason they recall. The benefit of winning and acing them is to get these objectives uncontested. If you're going to put yourself with this low of health, the only thing you're doing is you're giving yourself gold. And no, there's nothing really wrong with gold, right? Gold's great. It lets you more, it makes it so you're more likely to win the next fight. But there's a lot of ways that you can be doing something equivalent to this, right? Dragon is giving you the same kind of thing as a kill does. It gives you this potential, this small lead to win the next fight. But then what happens after you win the next fight, right? The only thing that matters is the objective. It's the only thing that matters. And you have no rotation so far this game, and Zed is a champion that needs to start split pushing at some point. You need to. If you don't split push and you're just sitting mid and killing your enemy laner, then you're better off playing something like Syndra, because she can wave clear better than a Zed can at a safer distance, and she still has that assassin potential. But Zed is a great champion, but where he shines is in these split pushes. That's what you want to do. I see that ping top lane. You just swapped exactly what you want to do. Do you see that? Do you see that? What am I saying this entire time? This. Now you got your kill, which is great. You got your second kill, which is great. Are you watching the map, though? Because remember how I said for some fucking reason in lower elo, people always recall after they ace the enemy? He's got 10 seconds and no ult. He's got 30 seconds. She's got 20 seconds. They're both mid. What this means is you have at least 10 seconds to push this in and auto this a few times. Because if Gangplank TPs for you, you're fucking Zed. You're gonna just go away, you know, with your fucking shadow, double shadow thing. Double W. You're fine. But if you don't play for this objective, none of this matters. And realistically, you should have been waiting even sooner. Like right here, Gangplank's already ulted, and you don't know where anyone is. Here, you stay back, like, look at this, Fog of War. They don't know where you are. And you've just created this numbers advantage, but they don't know it yet, right? They don't know what you're doing. They either send someone to stop you, or they send someone to stop the mid push that's happening, right? We're grouping mid over here. So what this means you do is you wait until their team makes up their mind. They're sending people mid, right? Watch as this slowly goes on. Janna shouldn't be coming up top alone, but even if she does come up all the way top, you wait for her to leave. You have 30 seconds on here, right? Janna's not going to stay up for this wave, and if she does, she's crazy. You stay for that turret hit, which is where that problem comes in. That's why this is close. Shouldn't have even been close. Never recall like this. Watch the fucking map. Why did it take you 18 minutes to start doing that? And you see what's going on over here? Right? Remember what I told you the purpose of these kills were? The objective you get afterwards? Where are you going right now? You're wasting this time. You created this time, right? You're pushing this wave back in. Jen is fucking top lane CSing. Kane is going mid. Push. Get the turret. Get the turret. This doesn't matter. It's a 3v3 over here. This doesn't matter. Because what are you going to do now without ult? Like, great, you can get one kill, but what's the purpose of kills? Rehearse this fucking thing. Rehearse it. It's the objective afterwards. None of this matters because you had the chance to get an objective. None of this matters. And now instead, when you take this fight, your team dies. And now look at this again, right? There are 5 people alive on their team and 3 alive on yours. That advantage you created no longer exists, and they have it. So what are they going to do? If they're smart, they're going to either Baron, they're going to either get a turret, they're going to get Dragon. Or maybe all of the above. This is what matters. So your roams are definitely an issue. You do understand what you're looking for at this point as a side lane. It takes you 18 minutes to start looking for this, which is problematic because you already created that opening that you wanted to switch for, like by 15 minutes. Those 3 minutes are 3 minutes that you could have killed Gangplank 3 times. And if Gangplank died 3 times, you know what he's not doing? He's not CSing. He's not leveling up. He's not scaling. And you know what else? You're probably getting turrets and creating pressure on the map. That's 3 minutes you're not doing that. And then also you're hunting down these team fights as Zed. Zed doesn't team fight. He can, but Janna can peel you once. Tristana can peel you once. Malzahar can peel you once. They got plenty of fucking damage to kill you. You gotta engage on them 3 times. In other words, you don't want this team fight. Ever. You don't want this team fight. Side lanes. And not only were you looking for this team fight when Zed doesn't want to team fight, you're looking for it when it did not matter. Assess what you can get after a fight. Assess if it's even worth showing up, like that bottom lane where you showed up for the thing once it was fucking over and then you tried to recall fucking next to the dragon pit. You weren't needed. You wasted time. You could have done something else. You gave them something when you didn't have to. You gave them 3 kills, a turret, and a dragon. Down here, you gave them a kill on you. You don't need to give them these things. And this isn't really a lane you want either. Malzahar's down here, and he misplays this. But apparently so do you. See, you don't really want that matchup. You also didn't have good vision to secure your 1v1. Where's Kane? Where is he? Right? He's here, but he could just as likely be here. And you're looking for this. You have no vision when you go to split push. And you have a ward. Use this time to ward. And that's probably the 6th or 7th time you've played very greedy. Looking for these kills, not caring about what happens afterwards. That is a very, very consistent problem of yours. Now, I'm not saying don't do this. I'm saying make sure it's safe first. Count is the first way you make sure it's safe, right? You didn't know where Kane was. And the second thing that's going to help you is try not to dive. That's how you almost died to the fucking Janna over here. Come on, man. And it's how you died over here. Turret hits. Poke him down a little more beforehand. You don't need to do this. If your QSS was down, then don't get close enough to get ulted. You don't have to. But your objective focus, your late rotations, your greed, your vision, and I mean your vision now for sure, because you're not tracking the enemy jungler, and you take these risky plays without knowing where they are, and you don't pay attention to where their team is even when you have vision, because you didn't ping Mia, you didn't watch the mid lane and know it was safe to keep pushing, you weren't paying attention to death timers, and knowing that it was safe to go for this turret. You aren't paying attention to objective control because you weren't going for this turret whenever you just got the gangplank kill. You went for a team fight. Does not matter. You're playing towards the wrong side of your lane and kiting in the wrong direction. You had an opportunity to kite to your Jax. Instead, you stood right next to the wall the Kane was going to pop out from because you greeded for a kill. Your playstyle is consistently greedy and very blind. Those are very big problems. Your mechanics are fine. But your lanes are, again, going to get harder. And a lot of these things that you were given this game, these kills, were from the enemy laner making a mistake. I haven't seen a whole lot of super impressive Zed play, but I haven't seen bad Zed play either. Taking advantage of the enemy misplays is a huge part of laning phase. Your laning phase isn't bad. Your map play is pretty bad. Look how long you're dead for. Yeah, that's another greedy thing. What were you going to get after that, anyways? Or are you going to push it all the way over to this? Malzahar's up in 11. He's going to stop you. You weren't going to get anything. These kills didn't matter. They already got this objective. You weren't defending anything. The wave's way fucking over here. You're not going to get anything yourself. So why are you down here, right? You're not defending anything. You're down here. The only reason you're down here is to catch a wave. No, you could have done. You could have let Twitch catch that wave and then rotate mid lane and kill the fucking gangplank again. Or you could have rotated top lane, started pushing this in, gained Baron control, and look for Baron. All this is wasted time. And if you add up all of these different things that you've done so far, you've probably wasted at least 6 minutes of this game, and probably a little bit more. And wasted time like this, if you want to compare it to something, it's not as bad as leaving the game, obviously, because you did take out one of their team, right? But you're letting them scale into you. You said that you got really fed, right? Great. Yeah, you have 13 kills. As the game goes on, those matter less and less. And you know what? Look at this gold, right? Isn't that kind of weird? Do you want to know where this comes from? Well, there's not really a CS discrepancy. Not really. Some of it definitely comes from Gangplank. Largely, gold leads like that would come from objectives. Now, you guys have a lot of turrets down too, so it's just because the score is pretty close and the gold's divided. But I was hoping to pull out an example of turret gold. Turret gold is incredibly important, and you had opportunities right here and right here to extend this gold lead by probably like 1,500. I'm not doing math, I don't care. But 1,500, and then this looks a lot better, right? The kills are pretty even, and that's because you're doing shit like 1-for-1s at this point. That's why it's even. You're not picking smart fights. You're not counting. You're not planning on any objectives you're getting afterwards. And really, you should be focusing on other ways to create these leads, like not looking for these 1v1s and looking for barons, looking for turrets, watching the map where you can create numbers advantages. And if you want to look at that goal lead again and you say, like, okay, bottom lane lost, bottom lane didn't lose. No one lost on your team. So this game's fair game for both of you. Your leads could have come from both of these places. This is a very chaotic fight. You did your role okay in this fight. It's a fight you guys didn't really want, but you were kind of forced to take after the fact. Because right here, there's 4 people, right? But look at this. Nasus gets split from the start. You're not there, and then your team fights. So this is something that you really don't want just from the nature of this start of this fight. It'd be best to disengage it completely. So then what's happening here? Well, Zed's great team fights and suicide, both things happened there. Everyone else lived, and only you died, and just your death gives them the number advantage that they need to take something. All right. After this, that's Baron in game, pretty much. And that's all it really takes. A couple of small mistakes, right? Because you weren't there for that fight at the start of that. You weren't there at the start of that fight. Why again? Why again? You want to look all the way back, right? Why were you not there for that fight? It's because of this, right? A death timer. And where'd that death timer come from? Right? Right? So now, look down the line. Okay, you're waiting in base. That's part of this problem, of course. Yeah, you should have been able to be there. AFKing in base like that is never a good thing. But this fight starts at a numbers disadvantage because you died and then AFK'd. but it's mistakes that add up. And then looking back into this, when your team's made up their mind to disengage, see what's happening? They're all full life, and your team's fucking dead. And you choose to go in. And if you're saying that you did it so they couldn't take something, right? You did it so that way you could defend the turret, did some damage, get some kills, right? You defend that real well. Okay, well actually you should have been able to, you should not have been able to get this. They should have rushed this. But that was a good call by you guys. So never mind. Let me go back to this. You should not have been able to do that. They chose to do dragon instead. Nice. This is fine. Yeah, you really, really, really should not have been able to do that. If I was them, I would have taken one turret and went to Baron. Because yeah, that was a huge misplay by them. Since you just got Baron, though, Zed's role is to split push. You should go up, catch this wave, start it pushing in. That way, because you already have vision control over here, it's safe to start getting vision control a second time. This wave's already pushing, but Malzahar just went to fix it, so you know their team is already responding bottom. That separates them and gets you a turret. Start pushing top here. AFKing like this is not good. You don't want to just wait here. If you're going to do that, at least go to the wave to start it moving. Because now you only have mid-wave to work with, and they have wave clear. And they have supers. And look what you end up doing anyways, like another 2 minutes later. But by the time you get down here, everyone's left mid. So now they can respond to both the Nasus top and you. You lost your pressure and your time to do this because you were sitting in a bush. And that was a complete waste of Baron. Yeah. You guys no longer have Baron. And it's because you don't know how to manage waves and you don't value turrets. You're going for kills. And no counting again. Yeah, okay. So really, really a lot of mistakes this game. Both as your team and as their team, and there were a lot of mistakes this game. The best things you need to work on is your counting before you make these aggressive plays. You make a lot of very unnecessary risks where you're not going to get anything afterwards. And you also are not very good with your roams. You go through warded area when you had an opportunity to go somewhere unwarded. So your roam pathing, your roam choice, your roam timing, because you went late several times. Your resources when you roam, you were like at 300 life when you were coming down to try and help that. Your disrespectful recall here, your vision control where you're trying to like pink this side of the map, and it was unnecessary. Because in my opinion, again, you should have been focusing top. And as I've shown you, and as you've seen, you have a very easy time killing that Gangplank. Then kill him. It's recognizing what you can do on a team. And you could have been playing towards the top side or kiting to the jacks. Very greedy plays, very greedy plays. I do like how you started in early QSS. That made your lane a lot easier and a lot better. It left you with kill pressure throughout this entire laning phase. Instead of after he gets 6, you have to play like a bitch. So that was good. Your ward, you waste some. You waste a considerable amount of them, actually. And then other times, whenever you have wards and you need to secure a push, you do not ward. You don't care about vision, and you don't watch it. Like when you saw the Malzahar coming down here, you didn't ping him. Like whenever you saw 2 people middle and you knew the other 3 were dead, you didn't go for the turret. You're not very good at wave control, where the waves are coming in and crashing over here, right? And you're looking and sitting in a bush. Or whenever the wave is way back here and you go for the kill, the 1-for-1, which was risky and probably wouldn't have happened if she had played it slightly better. Your Baron call, I don't know if that was you guys, but that was a great Baron call that you shouldn't have been able to do. Your team fight that you showed up for was late and unnecessary. Again, you should have just stayed for this turret. That's why you were down here. Not for the kill, but for the turret. The objective that comes afterwards is the important part. You bought 1 pink ward this game, and you put it in a bad spot. You didn't secure anything, and you only used that as an aggressive roaming ward, which you never used as an aggressive roaming ward. It just died afterwards. You need to be able to put better vision than just that. Vision is huge to this game, because what if they saw you in this bush? They come there, they kill you, and then you have that 50-second death timer. You show up late to the next fight. Your team loses this fight. You lose this, and you lose Baron, and then you lose the game. That's what that's how this game spirals out of control. You need to be very aware of how 1 death can matter, and how 1 death means nothing. Because a lot of the deaths that you gave up this game, as someone who had like 13 kills, mattered. You were down here, and you died, and you were late to the next fight. But you weren't going to get anything, and you weren't going to defend anything at that second, so that was an unnecessary fight. And since you don't push afterwards, on times that you can, what's the point of kills? This isn't Call of Duty Team Deathmatch. You get points, you score points by getting the objectives. Nothing else matters. All CS does is it makes you more likely to kill them. All that killing them does is it lets you take an objective. You really need to understand this, because that is the biggest problem with your play. These aggressive and unnecessary plays. Definitely work on your counting. Again, I'm going to point that out again, because that is how a lot of your problems started. Like whenever you dove the Tristana over here, there were 3 people around her, and your team was over here. It's not even, this is a 5v5 team fight. It's your positioning in the team fight. You know, AD carry's positioning is like one of the things they always talk about. It matters on everyone. And that's an example of where it matters. No one could follow up with that damage. No one could peel for you or CC them. So you were going into 3 of them when they had cooldowns. You were going to die. Simple. You were going to die. You wasted a lot of time down here too. You wasted a lot of time in base waiting for items. You cannot waste time like this. As jungle, wasting time is a huge thing you're always concerned about, and this kind of gank is a big problem. You knew exactly what they were doing. You knew they were on Dragon, and you could have fucking contested this instead of sitting in this bush. You might have gotten a kill, but they got an objective. So they won. A little bit. I actually don't really care about dragons, but I'm trying to point out these things, specifically in your review, because you make a lot of decisions just for kills, and that doesn't matter. As you see, this doesn't matter. Because you can still lose the game. Alright, well that's the end of this review. I hope some of that was helpful, and